Okay, guys, we're set. Is your mic working?
Yeah, I think so.
Of course, we'll be tweeting this out immediately. But so clearly, judging by the number of you who are here and the number of you who've been waiting to hear Devdutt, the introduction is not needed at all. What we'll do is start, just get straight into the conversation on Olympus. And Devdutt, you know, I think it's so interesting that part of this was the importance of reversing the gaze. I'm going to ask you a little bit about some of the stories we get to read about in Olympus, and you're going to show us the cover, which has a Trojan horse, and tell us if there's any, because what Devdutt does so well is, of course, throughout the book, make these sort of comparisons and contrasts with the Hindu mythology, some of which I'm going to ask you about and some of which you'll tell us through stories. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the cover, the Trojan horse, and resonances, if it might have any, with Indian mythology?
So, I would like to tell you two stories. And I think it's always fun to begin with stories. If I get carried away, please stop me. So, in Greek mythology, there is the famous story of the Trojan horse. And we Indians are familiar with the Trojan horse because we are familiar with the Trojan virus. Yeah. And our software engineers therefore have some connection with literature because so the Trojan horse was built by the Greeks and they left it outside the city of Troy. So they have been fighting with the Trojans for 10 years trying to get Helen out of the city of Troy. तो 10 साल युद्ध चलता रहता है ग्रीक्स के बीच में और ट्रोजन्स के बीच में और 10 साल के युद्ध there is no conclusion. तो फाइनली एक दिन जब सुबह के समय जब ट्रॉय के लोग बाहर देखते हैं तो कोई सेना वहां दिखाई नहीं देती. देयर इज नो आर्मी आउट देयर. देयर इज जस्ट एक घोड़ा दिखता है वहां पे, लकड़ी का घोड़ा. और वो बोलते हैं कि अरे ये तो जो ग्रीक्स है वो भाग गए और यहाँ पे उन्होंने एक घोड़ा छोड़ा है एंड दैट इज बिल्ट टू अपीज द गॉड ऑफ द सी. सो दिस इज द साइन ऑफ आवर विक्ट्री. Let's take this horse inside our city and celebrate the great strength of Troy. और ये इस घोड़े को, एक लकड़ी के घोड़े को अंदर लेके जाते हैं और उसके अंदर there are some Greek soldiers hiding. So at night, सूर्यास्त के बाद पूरे दिन यहाँ पे जश्न मनाते हैं Troy. They dance around it, they sing around it, very happy at the end of the 10-year siege. And in the evening, when everybody is sleeping, from within the Trojan horse come out the Trojan soldiers. The Greek soldiers, and they go and open the gates of the city of Troy, and the Greek army comes inside and destroys the city of Troy. So this story is very popular. So the whole Trojan horse means दिखता है कुछ, होता है कुछ, बाहर से कुछ और है, अंदर कुछ और है. You know, these ideas, जैसे हमारे English में we will say things like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Or a sheep in wolf's clothing. So different kinds of things that you have. ऐसी कहानी जैन परंपरा में मिलती है बट इसका भाव बहुत अलग है. द होल आइडिया इज वेरी डिफरेंट. तो जैनियों में ये कहानी है कि देयर वर अ ग्रुप ऑफ यंग मेन हु वर ऑब्सेस्ड विद अ प्रिंसेस एंड दे वांटेड टू मैरी दिस प्रिंसेस and they were willing to kill each other for this princess. So they came to the city of this princess with their armies. They said अगर इसकी शादी नहीं होगी तो हम ध्वंस कर देंगे इस राज्य को. So the princess invites them to her mahal, all the princes. And when the princes come, she stands far away. They look at this very beautiful princess. And the servants and the das जो होते हैं बोलते हैं आगे आइए देखिए देखिए हमारी रानी है, राजकुमारी है देखिए. And they keep walking towards the statue. And as they come closer and closer towards the statue, it starts to stink. एक rotten, stinking smell comes. And they say, oh God, this Rajkumari has a very bad badbu hai isme. You know, she's not using obviously, you know, all those various fragrances and perfumes. So they're disgusted with her. When they come very near, they say, अरे ये तो राजकुमारी नहीं कठपुतली है. तो फिर राजकुमारी वहां आती है और बोलती है कठपुतली के अंदर मैंने खाना रखा था. रोज मैं इसको खाना खिलाती हूँ और रोज खिलाती हूँ और जो भी खाना अंदर बैठता है वो धीरे धीरे सड़ता है. तो ये जो शरीर तुम मेरा जो शरीर चाहते हो ये सड़ा हुआ जो बदबू आने वाला सड़ा हुआ अन्न है वैसा है ये मेरा शरीर और इसके पीछे तुम युद्ध करने को तैयार हो. शर्म नहीं आती? तो यहां पे एक कठपुतली है, एक राजकुमारी की कठपुतली, उसके अंदर छिपा हुआ है सड़ा हुआ अन्न। तो इट्स अ ट्रोजन हॉर्स स्टोरी का पैरेलल है, ट्रोजन हॉर्स स्टोरी। बट देखिए भाव कितना अलग है। ट्रोजन हॉर्स जो लकड़ी का घोड़ा है, उसके अंदर ग्रीक्स बैठे हुए हैं। द ग्रीक्स आर सिटिंग इनसाइड टू कॉन्कर अ सिटी। This princess is creating a wooden doll and she's filling it with food to create the feeling, the idea. She is inside this Kathputli is an idea. एक विचार है that you are obsessed with material things and you have to rise above material things if you have to understand जो जैन सत्य है. And this is the Jain use of the same idea कि बाहर से कुछ अंदर से कुछ और है. So the Trojan horse story, which is very material, it's about conquest, about conquering and destroying a city, while the Jain story is similar theme, but the idea is very different. It was not conquering the world, it is about conquering your mind. तुम्हारे व्यसनों पर, तुम्हारे क्लेशों पर, तुम्हारे विचारों पे, तुम्हारे काम वासनाओं को ऊपर conquest. So I just find this very impressive. Same structure, but different cultures use the same structure to explain very different ideas.
And I mean, exploring ideas that are obsessing them at the time, the kind of the issues that they're going through. You know, there's some other contrast that you bring in, which is so interesting because you have an explanation of the, I'm not going to take that as feedback from outside, but explanation of, you know, for Greek mythology, some of the themes that they explore, for example, creation, destruction, it's very linear.
Yes.
With the Hindu mythology or Indian systems of thought, it's obviously much more cyclical, which you point out. But you also said that the Greeks were clear that origin was chaos,
yes,
and the purpose is to find order, which is again contrasted. Can you?
Yeah. So you see, the whole idea in Greek mythology and modern discourse is based on that. So if you, how many of you all heard Trump's speech? And you will see this Greek hero conversation कि दुनिया में सब गड़बड़ है और मैं सब ठीक करने वाला हूं. तो ये है यूनानी नायक का आर्किटाइप, द ग्रीक हीरो who comes to battle the monster. कि सब गड़बड़ है दुनिया में, मैं, you know, so there are lots of monsters in Greek mythology. There is Medusa, जिसके बाल सांपों, you know, सर्प नाग के जैसे हैं. Or there is Minotaur, who has the head of a bull and body of a human being. There's Chimera, different monsters, and the Greek hero is always going to kill the monster and create order. Sab order karunga, and this is going to happen in one life. In Indian culture, it is very different. Our gods for the Western eye will look very monstrous, क्योंकि हमारे हाथी वाले सर के देवता हैं, वानर वाले देवता हैं, देवता के 10 सर हैं, 20 हाथ हैं, अलग अलग प्रकार के, ये बोलने के लिए कि देखिए प्रकृति तुम्हें समझ में नहीं आएगी, जो तुम्हें chaos समझते हो वो प्रकृति है. It is order beyond your understanding. What you consider chaos is बस order beyond your understanding. तो घमंड मत कर, नम्रता से देख. You think you can conquer the world, but the world will never be conquered. This is something that is the difference between a Greek story and Indian story. The Indian story will always say कि तू जितना भी try कर. तो जैसे एक और जो famous जैन story है भरत की, कहते हैं कि वो पहाड़, वो जब पूरी दुनिया को चक्रवर्ती बनता है, he says that I will climb on top of the mountain and I will put a flag and say कि दुनिया में I am the great conqueror, I have conquered the whole world. लेकिन जब ऊपर जाता है पहाड़ के ऊपर, when he goes on top of the mountain, he sees lots and lots of billboards लिखते हैं कि I have conquered the world, I have conquered the world, I have conquered the world. And he realizes कि देखिए तू जितना भी कोशिश कर, अपने आप को सुपरमैन बनना कोशिश कर, लेकिन तू तेरे ऊपर कुछ और होगा हमेशा. तो जो ऊपर जाता है वो नीचे आता है. तो दिस साइक्लिकल थिंग is that तू जितना ऊपर जाएगा तो नीचे जरूर आएगा. This is a very Indian idea. Do not try to think you will solve the problems of life in your one lifetime. It is a cyclical, ये दिगंबर परंपरा है जहां पे आप जितना भी कोशिश करो, अपना आम का पेड़ हो आम दो, लेकिन जंगल को सॉल्व करने की प्रॉब्लम मत करना. तुम आम के पेड़ हो. Don't try to solve the forest issues. So in the same way, the Greek stories are very different. The forest is a problem. They want to control the forest, manage the problem, control, and we want to This fundamental difference, and therefore Greek stories are full of tragedy. They have great heroes and at the end of the day they're tragic because you suddenly realize कि जब तुम मुकाम पे पहुंचते हो, when you reach your destination, आगे एक और एक पहाड़ है, उसके बाद और एक पहाड़ है, पहाड़ के पहाड़, पहाड़ के पहाड़. And therefore जो चक्रवर्ती है देखता है कि पहाड़ के ऊपर जब बैठता है कि there is no end to this world. तो एक नम्रता जो होती है, this is in the Greek mythology, this is hubris. Hubris, this arrogance of the hero who thinks he can establish order in a world. So Indian thought looks at the world very differently. हमारा जो दुनिया है, जो सनातन, when the word Sanatan is used, it means a world which has no beginning and no end. Anadi Anant. But the Greek world is a very fixed world. उसके दायरे बहुत clear हैं. There is very clear. शुरुआत यहाँ पे है, अंत यहाँ पे है. So life is like a Excel sheet. This cell to that cell. Everything is within limits. अनंत की कल्पना नहीं है. And therefore chaos, the idea of chaos is not found in Sanatan. They'll say, तुम्हें लगता है chaos ना? When you fly into Bombay city, you think it's a chaotic city. But there's a lot of negotiated boundaries. इसके अंदर बहुत order है, तुम्हें समझ में नहीं आता है. इसका मतलब नहीं कि यहाँ chaos है. तो it's a different way of looking at the world. The desire to conquer and जो दिगंबर मुनि होंगे तो बोलेंगे, the famous story where Alexander meets the gymnosophist and Alexander asks gymnosophist, आप कर क्या रहे हो? तो दिगंबर बोलते हैं कि नहीं, बस शून्य की कल्पना कर रहा हूँ. और then the दिगंबर asks Alexander, सिकंदर को पूछते हैं कि तुम क्या कर रहे हो? मैं दुनिया को विजय प्राप्त करने के लिए, मैं दिग्विजय यात्रा में हूँ. तो बोलते हैं अच्छा, और दोनों हंस पड़ते हैं कि सामने वाला मूर्ख है.
And you use that in the book also actually to sort of punctuate the stories that we're getting to read. I do want to ask you though, all of these heroes, like you said, they have these incredible epic journeys where they're conquering a lot of obstacles put in their way, often by relatives, gods, whatever it is, but they almost always have a calamitous, tragic end.
Yes.
If you could take us through some of, like 1 or 2 examples of these stories, and also the reasoning behind that mythology, because their gods are not, like what comes after, because they're very human in their failings.
See, I'll tell you a problem that I faced. जब मैं, I work for a lot of television channels, and they all want to do Ramayana, Mahabharata, and they're all trained in the Western way of telling stories because they have learned script writing. They have done script writing courses, in New York or in film institutes, and they all want to tell a story. And all stories are finite, right? एक शुरुआत होती है, एक अंत होती है. और आपको एक हीरो, तो वो बोलेंगे सर रामायण में मजा नहीं आ रहा है. क्यों नहीं आ रहा है? इसलिए वो राम जी का कैरेक्टर आर्क क्या है? तो आई सेड राम जी भगवान है, तो उनका कैरेक्टर आर्क नहीं होगा. तो सर स्टोरी कैसे बन सकता है फिर? अच्छा, हजारों सालों से स्टोरी चल रही है, तुम्हें प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Because he is convinced in the Greek way of storytelling. The Greek storytelling is of a hero who goes on a journey, and the journey में वो खुद बहुत issues face करता है. वो धीरे धीरे mature होता रहता है, mature दुनिया के बारे में सीखता है, वो achieve करता है, he achieves something. Sometimes he is victorious, sometimes he fails, और उसमें एक transformation आ जाती है. तो hero शब्द, जिसको नायक शब्द, ये बहुत ही यूनानी शब्द है. ये रामायण महाभारत में कभी नहीं होता. रामायण महाभारत के जो मुख्य पात्र होंगे उनको वो भगवान है. सी द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द सुपर हीरो एंड अवतार इज दिस. जो सुपर हीरो होता है, ही इज एन ऑर्डिनरी मैन हु बिकम्स एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी. तो वो छोटा होता है और बड़ा बनता है. So for example, Hobbit, when you see Lord of the Rings or you see the Hobbit's journey, you see an ordinary Hobbit transforming into larger than life. हैरी पॉटर की पिक्चर देखो तो एक छोटा बच्चा है जो बिकम्स लार्जर देन लाइफ. तो ये एक सुपर हीरो की जर्नी होती है. साधारण मनुष्य, स्पाइडरमैन, साधारण मनुष्य जो बहुत ही एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी हो जाता है एंड यूज्ड टू डील विद स्पेशल पावर्स. जो अवतार, रामायण राम की कहानी है, महाभारत कृष्ण की कहानी है. यहाँ पे भगवान अवतरित होते हैं. सो इट इज, जो अनंत है वो एक मॉर्टल का रूप लेता है. जो बड़ा है वो छोटा रूप लेता है. वो, उसको सब ज्ञान है, आगे का पीछे का सबका ज्ञान है, और वो एक छोटा रूप लेता है, उसको सब पता है. तो राम जी वहां पे जन्म लिए हैं, रघुकुल में बड़े राजा, बड़े बेटे हैं, एंड ही हैज टू लिव द लाइफ ऑफ अ मॉर्टल मैन, एंड ही हैज टू डील विद स्टूपिड पीपल. जो अपने आप को बोलेंगे कि हम बहुत स्ट्रांग है, बहुत पावरफुल है, एंड ही हैज टू लुक एंड से मैं क्या करूं, बिकॉज वो बांधे हुए हैं, उनका जो शरीर है, उनका जो जहां पे उनका जन्म हुआ है, ही इज लिमिटेड बाय हिज बॉडी, ही इज लिमिटेड, क्योंकि वो योनि से जन्म लिए हैं, ही इज बॉर्न ऑफ अ मॉर्टल मैन, उसका ही कैनॉट चेंज द रूल्स ऑफ द गेम. He is born in a royal family, is to follow the rules of the game. He cannot say that अरे मैं God हूँ, I can do this, मेरे पास मैजिक वॉन्ड है. नहीं, तुमको तो ये जो बड़े हैं उनको छोटा बनना पड़ता है, जैसे माँ को बच्चों को खिलाने के लिए भिन्न भिन्न भाषा उत्पन्न करना पड़ती है. Have you seen a mother talking to a child? She talks in this very funny language, choo chee choo chee choo, because the child will say, हाँ mummy is so intelligent. Or if you see the mother and child playing hide and seek, the mother can see the child hiding, but she'll say, अरे कहाँ गया कहाँ गया कहाँ गया. या जो बच्चा है मम्मी को मारता है या पापा को मारता है, पापा अरे मारो मत मारो मत मारो मत. वैसे ही श्री राम जी और कृष्ण युद्ध कर रहे हैं, मारो मत, अरे बाप रे रावण जी आप तो बहुत ही महान हो. तो ये है लीला, इसको कहते हैं लीला, जिसको वेर वी नो. और यू नो आजकल ट्विटर में बहुत लीला खेलना पड़ता है.
If Ram had a Twitter account, how would that go?
Oh man. तो ये जो भाव है, ये आपको इलियड एंड ओडेसी में नहीं मिलेगी. And if you try to compare Iliad and Odyssey with Ramayana and Mahabharata, it is flawed because the paradigmic structure is different. So अभी ये से बात करें तो बोलते बड़ी बड़ी इतना complicated है, because it's a different world. यहाँ अनादि अनंत की बात कर रहे हो, यहाँ पे अनादि अनंत की बात नहीं कर रहे हो, यहाँ achievement की बात कर रहे हो. You know, this difference people don't understand, and therefore they assume all stories are the same. All stories are not the same. They exist in different ways of imagination, different structures. जब तक ये भाव समझ में नहीं आएगा तब तक आप रामायण समझ ही नहीं पाओगे. And this is something that you keep explaining. So what happens in a Greek story? You'll have this Greek man, so whether you're reading the story of Hercules, Theseus, Perseus, Jason, Achilles, Odysseus, Aeneas, सब एक यात्रा में जा रहे हैं. It like they're going on a journey. They want to achieve something. Jason wants to get the golden fleece. Hercules wants to do the 12 tasks so that he can repent for killing his wife and child. ये बहुत ही उनमें जुनून होता है या बहुत ही व्यथा होती है. There's a lot of torture in them, and they're going on this journey and they're conquering, they're defeating enemies, they're finding beautiful women, there are damsels in distress, there are monsters to conquer. कुछ देव होते हैं जो उनको support करते हैं, the gods who support them, there are gods who oppose them. They are living their life, they're struggling. एक जुनून है, they are struggling and struggling and struggling. And finally they achieve. It's almost, that's why the Greeks came up with the Olympic Games या मैराथन. ये बहुत ही ये जो ये गेम्स हैं कि आप एक जुनून के पास एक टारगेट रख के उसके पीछे दौड़ते रहो और पहुंचने के बाद यू गेट अ एक्सिलरेशन ऑफ विक्ट्री. आप जीत गए और उसके बाद कहानी का दूसरा भाग शुरुआत होता है, जब आपको लगता है कि हाँ अचीव कर लिया. तो क्या हुआ? अनंत में तुम्हारी यात्रा का कोई मायने नहीं है. If the denominator of your life is infinity, the value of your achievement is zero. और ये बहुत जो नायक होता है उसको बहुत तकलीफ होता है. You know, everybody who wants to solve the world's problems, they will do great things, but the fact is दिगंबर बैठ के बोल रहा है ठीक है और 10 साल, चलो 15 साल. One day your body will let you go.
Yeah.
One day the body will let you go and you will watch the world carry on without you. This horror is something in the Greek is a tragedy. And in the Sanatan family of religions, it is wisdom. So the Buddha, the Tirthankara, the avatar, they watch and they say, Shanti. Tension क्यों ले रहे हो? दुनिया को ये बचाने वाला है.
But you know, they, of course, they make for good stories, these adventures and the conquests. And you know what you do also highlight in the book, and I think when you read Greek myths, it's so interesting because all of these challenges often are put there by the gods for their own pleasure or purpose. Or so, can you take us through a little bit of that and how that affects us, and why is it even relevant today to talk about this?
See, when we read when people say, sir, मेरे को कुछ achieve करना है, this thing of achievement, the Greeks believed that the purpose of life is to be extraordinary. कुछ तो करना है दुनिया में, कुछ तो हीरो बनना है. This was the Greek way. So the whole purpose of life, तो जो जी रहे, and if you look at everything in our business plan, हमारा जब business plan होता है तो ये आपका target है, ये आपका vision होना चाहिए, you have to achieve this. And the whole purpose of your planning systems, everything is designed around achieving this thing. Or Greek traditions introduced the idea कि मरने के बाद, so they had this concept that you live only once, तुम्हारी एक ही जिंदगी है. मरने के बाद you have to cross, तुम्हारी जो आत्मा होती है, your ghost, they use the word ghost. Your ghost has to travel across a river called Styx. And you have to cross this river. There is a boatman over there जिसको आप एक coin देते हो, वो तुम्हें Styx के उस पार लेता है, और वहाँ पे there is Cerberus, a dog with 3 heads, and you give it honey cakes. And then finally you meet Hades, the god of the dead, the king of the dead. And finally you meet the judges, तो judge, न्यायाधीश. There is 3 judges, और वो judge decide करेंगे कि तुम्हारा future क्या होगा forever, क्योंकि एक ही जिंदगी है. If you have done something extraordinary, you will go to Elysium. This place called Elysium. तो जो कुछ अच्छा किया दुनिया में, so you will go to Elysium. If you have upset the gods, you will go to Tartarus. और वहाँ पे तुम, for example, टूटे हुए घड़े के साथ पानी भरते रहोगे, मतलब कुछ अचीव ही नहीं कर पाओगे, वही काम रिपीट करते रहोगे. There is the word tantalizing comes from Tantalus. He's a Greek character. कि वो कैरेक्टर है कि उसको ऐसा श्राप मिला था, भगवान ने पनिश किया था वहां पे, कि तुम्हें हमेशा प्यास लगेगी और तुम पानी नदी के पास बैठे रहोगे, तुम पानी छूने जाओगे तो पानी तुमसे दूर चली जाएगी, और तुम्हें हमेशा भूख लगेगा, और ऊपर फल होगा, अगर तुम फल छूना चाहोगे तो फल ऊपर चढ़ जाएगा, तो हम तड़प के रहोगे तुम. तो ये है टार्टरस. और जो ऑर्डिनरी है, जो आम जनता है, उनके लिए, मीडियोकर लोगों के लिए मीडियोकर हेवन होता है, एस्फोडल. तो 3 heavens, 3 judges. तो पूरी जिंदगी is like a report card. You have a report card. You know how horrible it is to live your life on a report card? रोज ये appraisal system होता है जॉब में. बोनस मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा, प्रमोशन मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा, ये पूरी जिंदगी. This is modern life. Our entire modern life is based on Greek mythology. You are continuously being measured and judged. Indian tradition, सनातन जो tradition है, यहाँ पे भगवान न्यायाधीश नहीं है. The God is not a judge. God is an accountant. मुनीम है. चित्रगुप्त के जैसे वो लिखा जोखी करते हैं कि तुम्हारे जितने कर्म हैं मैं लिख रहा हूं, भैया ऋण होगा तो देना पड़ेगा. ऋण जब तक होगा तुम, there is no river Styx, there is a river Vaitarani. As long as तुम ऋण में हो, as long as you are in debt to the world, तुमको वैतरणी के उस पार से इस पार आना पड़ेगा. You have to keep coming. ये जो ऋण का concept है, you are bound by debt, is a very important idea in Hinduism. So it's a very different view of the world. कि दुनिया में मेरा ऋण है, मुझे ऋण मुक्त होना है. This, but nowadays people use what like corporate social responsibility. अरे ऋण मुक्त बोलो ना. ऋण होता है, आप हमेशा जो भी कार्य करते हो, you are lucky to have a body, you are lucky to have a healthy body, you are lucky to be born in a family that can afford to feed you, you are lucky to have parents who love you, you are lucky to have an education. तो ऋण में हो तुम्हें ऋण चुकाना पड़ेगा. देव ऋण होगा, पितृ ऋण होगा, ऋषि ऋण होगा, देव. तो नेचर के साथ, with animals, birds, so many animals and plants have to die so that you can live a normal life. To build your, ये जो डेवलपमेंट हम बोल रहे हैं, एक रास्ता बनाने के लिए हमें 100 पेड़ काटने पड़ेंगे, तो ऋण में आ गए तुम ऋण में हो. ऋण से मुक्त होना ही मुक्ति है. तो कार्य करके मुक्ति इज ऋण से मुक्त होना. ये कॉन्सेप्ट दिस इज द बाइंडिंग फोर्स, बट वी डोंट टॉक. इट इज बेस्ड ऑन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कि तुम ऋण में हो. सो यू आर बोर्न इन डेट, यू हैव टू कंटिन्यूअसली रीपे. So it is not about achievement. The purpose of life is not achievement. The purpose of life is becoming debt free. ये बहुत ही अलग दृष्टिकोण है, ये जो दर्शन है. तो these are ideas not part of the global village. They have to be part of the global village. You cannot have a one-way conversation, the West telling the world how you should live life. No. East will tell the West, West will tell the East. We will learn from each other. संवाद करेंगे, उपनिषद करेंगे, बात करेंगे. ये जब तक हम समझते नहीं है ये बातें कि you have to listen to the other. श्रुति करो, listen. This is what the Indian thought is कि भैया ऋण है. You are lucky to have this body. You are lucky to have this intellect. You are lucky to have these privileges. You are lucky. This is the fundamental thought of the Vedic parampara. This is found in Jainism, in Buddhism. Rin. It's a very important idea. But we are not familiar in the modern. So it's not, the relevance is to draw attention to different discourses.
Yeah.
जो अलग-अलग दर्शन है, discourse is darshan. Another way of looking at the world. How do we use traditional Indian narratives to evoke ideas? यहाँ पे achievement से आप ऋणी होते हो. ऋण मुक्त बनाने के लिए आपको दान देना होगा. You will have to, your work is always दान. You have to continuously give. देते रहोगे, जन्म देना पड़ेगा. लेना नहीं, देना पड़ेगा. तो लेखा जोखा में in the balance sheet, what is being checked is तुम ले रहे हो या दे रहे हो. अब इसके बहुत meanings होते हैं.
Also, the purpose of life is to be debt-free. I don't know, I think Visa and MasterCard are never going to make you their spokesperson, I'm just telling you. But of course, there are many layers to all of this. And I want to come back to one of the fundamental differences also, when you see the way at that time these myths were written, the Greek myths which you talk about. For so many of these heroes and characters, that sort of preordained or prophecy note was very important.
Yes.
And sometimes that's mistaken also for, this belief in karmic. Can you tell us a contrast?
No, see, prophecy and prophecy is not part of Hindu traditions. There are similar things. जैसे जब कृष्ण का जन्म होने वाला है तो कंस को एक दूरध्वनि तुम्हारा ये जो 8वां बच्चा है तुम्हें मारेगा. So people say it's a prophecy. ये prophecy का जो concept है, देखिए दुनिया अलग-अलग तरीके से, तो कई every culture has a different way of looking at the world. एक परंपरा है जिसे हम पैगंबर परंपरा कहेंगे, दूसरा होता है दिगंबर परंपरा होता है. तो in one idea is that the idea is that the world, there is a fall, so there is a original sin, there is a fall, and you have to return to Eden. ये जो concept है, तो एक prophecy होगा कि एक दिन पैगंबर आएंगे, आपको पैगाम लेके आएंगे. There's a prophecy, मसीहा आएगा. This idea of prophecy. यहाँ पे this is not prophecy. This is more future gazing. ये होने वाला है because ये कर्म है, because the balance sheet is telling me this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. These events are going to happen in the future is not a prophecy. It's preordained in the sense that you have control over how you respond to it. So an event will happen, this is preordained. It is preordained कि ये युद्ध होने वाला है. लेकिन तुम युद्ध में क्या करने वाले हो? तुम्हारा प्रतिक्रिया क्या होगा? What will be your reaction? So is over which you have control. और तुम्हारी प्रतिक्रिया के हिसाब से it will be decided future life तेरा क्या होगा. It is very different from the idea of prophecy. Prophecy is this is going to happen. एक दिन ये होगा. So the idea of fate comes from Greek mythology. The Greeks had this idea of fate. There were 3 blind women who would spin the web of life. And they would decide, somebody will decide the texture of your life, which is the quality of your life. Some will decide the length of your life, and one will cut the length of your life. So this was how your life was preordained. This is the life you're going to lead. So that's a very Greek idea. Or the idea that Masiha zarur aayenge, ek din qayamat zarur hoga. Very Paigambar traditions. Hindu traditions are cyclical. There is no end. ये जो नाटक है ये अनंत है, तो ये तो चलता रहेगा. JLF आते रहेंगे, जाते रहेंगे, सेशन होता रहेगा. अपने आप को महान मत मानो. लोग आएंगे जाएंगे, कभी यहाँ बैठना पड़ता है, कभी वहाँ बैठना पड़ता है. तो प्रोफेसी है कि देवदत्त पटनायक आज 2:30 को यहाँ पे बात करेंगे, लेकिन आपकी प्रतिक्रिया क्या होगी?
That remains to be seen. But again, just to come back to, because you said, for example, there are some superficial similarities.
Yes.
Like in the case of Christian, in the case of was it Cronus, who tried to kill all of his children because it was preordained that Zeus would be born? And
yes.
Maybe
So in the Greek mythology, one of the things that you see is that there is a great fear of the younger generation. तो पिता और पुत्र के बीच में हमेशा competition होता है. So the father is, oh my God, I think I just discussed politics. देखिए गंगा के तट पर भी ओलंपस है. तो the idea is कि पिता पुत्र, the older generation, the younger generation के बीच में हमेशा मुठभेड़ होती है. And in the Greek tradition, the older generation tries to eat the younger generation. So Cronus, वो अपने पुत्र को, he eats the son, वो अपने बेटे को खाता है. This idea, Cronus is Saturn, the god Saturday का. And he eats his own child, but the child fights back. The child fights back and he defeats the father. Ultimately, the son will kill the father. This is the Greek structure. Indian stories are ambiguous. In some stories, the father will destroy the younger generation. वो अपने भोग के लिए अपने पुत्र का बलि देगा. So for example, रामायण में दशरथ अपने वचन निभाने के लिए पुत्र के बलि देते हैं, बोलते हैं कि तू जंगल में जा, वनवास, go to the forest. So the son has to give up his youth, the best years of his life in the forest. और महाभारत में भीष्म has to give up, ब्रह्मचर्य का व्रत लेते हैं ताकि अपने पिता शादी कर सके सत्यवती के साथ. So he gives up his conjugal rights for his father. So the father is always dominating and an आज्ञाकारी पुत्र is celebrated. So it's the opposite. In the Greek stories, the father is ultimately defeated. In the Indian stories, the son always submits. But it is not so simple. For when you read the Krishna story, it's very Greek. कृष्ण कंस को मारते हैं, अपने मामा को मारते हैं, या कृष्ण भीष्म पितामह को बोलते हैं कि इनको मारो, या द्रोणाचार्य गुरु को बोलते हैं इसको मारो, बड़े भाई कर्ण को बोलते हैं मारो, which means the older generation is being continuously destroyed. So for a stable society, the older, जो रामायण में कहानी होती है, वहां पे you submit to the older. पिता dominate करता है, लेकिन जब बदलाव आता है दुनिया में तो पिता की मृत्यु होती है. So भीष्म का उद्धार होता है, द्रोण का उद्धार होता है, कर्ण का उद्धार होता है. So this is the complexity. You know, Indians are like the Indian head shake, never very simple. This complexity जो पिता पुत्र का रिलेशनशिप है, कब आज्ञाकारी पुत्र इज गुड और कभी पिता बेटे को कहना चाहिए पिताजी वनवास लेने का टाइम आ गया है. हम उसको वनवास नहीं बोलेंगे, हम उसको बोलेंगे वर्णाश्रम धर्म में लिखा गया है कि आफ्टर सर्टेन टाइम रिटायरमेंट इज गुड, which our parliament doesn't listen.
More politics from you today.
No,
Good. But you know, there are also, and I think you say this in the book, you make a couple of comparisons where, for example, Krishna with the sort of, there are again, it's possible to make superficial comparisons to Hercules with some of the tasks. Those tasks are also very fascinating.
Yes.
Would you tell us a little bit about?
See, the Hercules, you know, it's when the Greeks, for many centuries, we had a lot of Indo-Greeks live in India. You know, Alexander, जब सिकंदर आए थे 2,300 years ago, he came with a lot of ideas, and after him बहुत यूनानी लोग आए थे इंडिया में, तो उनके बहुत relationships दिखते हैं. So Megasthenes made a comment कि भारत के लोग Hercules की पूजा करते हैं. So it's a very strange comment. Why would he say that? And then you realize there are stories and visuals that sort of there are these superficial similarities. In fact, one of the theories is Hercules शब्द आता है हरि कुल एश. तो हरि कुल का ईश्वर ही हर्क्यूलिस है. तो ऑफ कोर्स हम लोग बोलेंगे देखा सब इंडिया से ही आता है. But chauvinism aside, chauvinism is good over a cup of tea. But these stories, for example, जो Hercules है, he is defeating the Hydra, the multi-headed serpent Hydra, and Krishna is dancing on Kaliya Nag. So when you see the images, लगता है कि अरे बहुत similarity है. या there is a story of Krishna fighting a lion, जो श्यामंतक जेम का story है, where he fights a lion and defeats a lion. One of the most popular images of Hercules is him fighting the Nemean lion, and he wears a lion cloak around his neck. So you find these images which are very, very, at a superficial level, very similar. They are not exactly the same, and therefore you see, or for example, you have the 10 tasks of Hercules, and you have the adventures of Krishna. He killing different animals. Over here also there are different animals being killed. Hercules, the animals are created by Hera, so the gods are creating it to talk, उसके रास्ते में बाधा डालने के लिए. यहाँ पे कंस मामा भेज रहे हैं अपने अलग अलग असुरों को उनको डिफीट करने के लिए. तो ये जब दिखाई देता है तो लगता है कि कुछ तो सिमिलैरिटी होगी. या मथुरा नगर को डिस्ट्रॉय करने के लिए, टू डिस्ट्रॉय द सिटी ऑफ मथुरा, द किंग जरासंध ऑफ मगध सेंड्स अ वॉरियर हुज नेम इज काल यवन. Now Kal means black or time. Yavan Shabd comes from the Greek word Ionia. Ionian pillars. Ionia is a part of Greece. So Yavana means Greece. So Kal Yavana, black Greek or Indo-Greek. So is there a relationship? Pata nahi. You know, so we don't know. These are relationships because for about 200 years, very strong relationships with Greece. We had, I mean, the legend has it that Chandragupta Maurya in his harem had princesses. Seleucus Nicator's daughter he was married to one of them. Her name, they say, is Ellen. Of course, these are all legends. We don't know for sure. But we know that he had female warriors, Amazons from the Greek kingdoms to protect him. So he had a whole army of women protecting him. So these ideas, there is a lot of these kind of similarities are there. Whether they should be taken, when you read, for example, the Theban Wars, the Theban War, जहाँ पे दो भाई अपने बीच में लड़ाई करें, जो इडिपस के दो बेटे हैं, they are fighting over the land. You suddenly realize, अरे ये तो महाभारत जैसा है, जमीन के ऊपर लड़ाई हो रही है दो भाइयों के बीच पे. या अगर आप Helen of Troy की पिक्चर देखें, so somebody told me, oh, you know, the Trojan War is just like the Ramayana. But you know, this is superficial. Look at the big difference. In the Greek story, Helen is willfully, she elopes with Paris. And the Greek war is between two armies because the wife has chosen the other side. तो मर्दांगी को ठेस लगी है. यहाँ पे भी मर्दांगी को ठेस लगी, but अलग है. सीता का हरण हुआ है. तो there is a different kind of war being fought on either side. So the Trojan War superficially looks like the Ramayana. The Theban War superficially looks like the Mahabharata. Hercules superficially looks like Krishna. So you can find superficial similarities. या वो famous story है कि you know, Achilles की माँ Thetis, she wants to protect her son. She's obsessed with her son. You know, there are many mothers who love their sons so much they want to make them immortal. So she picks her son when he's a baby and she tries to dip him in the river Styx. The story कि वो नदी में अगर उसका शरीर में पानी लग गया तो he will be no weapon will hurt him. But she जो जहाँ पे पकड़ा है, the ankle bone, this Achilles tendon is not touched, so that becomes his vulnerable spot. और यही कहानी हमें महाभारत में मिलती है कि गांधारी जब अपना पट्टी बांध के दुर्योधन को देखती है तो कहता है कि तू नग्न में रूप में आ, so every part I will see will become safe. But वो कहता है, लेकिन कृष्ण बोलते कि नहीं 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 मम्मी के पास जा रहा है, थोड़ा तो शर्म कर. तो वो एक लीफ डाल देता है अपने on his loins, and therefore that becomes vulnerable. So that vulnerability की idea जो आपको Greek mythology में मिलती है, वैसे ही story आपको, again superficial difference, but it's fun, as I said.
And also there obviously was some sort of, there could have been some
There was some exchange for sure.
The sequel to this book will be, you know. But also, you know, for example, Helen you talk about, and what's not really well known is that her character was a little bit, you don't actually know her motivations.
Yeah, we don't know. Helen, see, the thing is, the gods, I think we have the gods are playing games. The Greek gods will always have relations with humans and they'll create special kind of creatures. Now, mostly they create male children who are heroes, who fight. So all the gods create male children, but not always. Helen is also a child of of Zeus. And Helen has been created to create war between human beings. So the purpose why Helen exists is to make the Greeks, wo de ghamandi ho gaye hain, so to destroy the Greek civilization. So she has been created, she is this very ambiguous creature. You don't know, does she love the Trojans, does she love, जो उसे देखता है प्यार करता है, जो देखता है उससे प्यार करता है. And you suddenly realize ये द्रौपदी जैसे लगती है. Because wherever she goes, but Draupadi is very passionate and she is demanding vengeance. Helen is very quiet. In fact, the story goes कि जब युद्ध होता है तो उसके जो पति हैं मेलेनोस, उनको मारने आते हैं. तो तलवार निकाल के आते हैं कि मैं उसको मैं मार डालूंगा. And then she just goes and she looks at him. और वो अपना, they say that she undoes her dress and he looks at her and he just वहीं पे पिघल जाता है, said आजा घर. So that is her power.
We need some of those retellings from, you know, like Volga has just sort of done this for Sita. We need to see some of these retellings. Okay, I was looking at my watch because I think we have a few minutes left. Where is the volunteer with the mic? There. So anyone near, if you put your hand up, we can probably take 2 questions. Wait. There's one here in the front. Yeah, the girl in the sort of warm coat. Yeah.
First of all, thank you, Devdutt sir, for just reintroducing mythology to readers like us. My question is that it's not related to the session, but how does mythology promote patriarchy? Because there are many instances, but are there any instances to the contrary that it does not promote patriarchy?
See, mythology can promote whatever you like. It can even promote advertising.
Please leave very quietly.
So it depends on
very quietly.
Yeah, go on.
So it can promote whatever you like. So one of my, you have to see, what happens is people cherry pick stories to prove their point. So if I want to see patriarchy in Ramayana, you'll see patriarchy. You want to see feminism in the Ramayana, you'll see feminism. If you want to understand feminism in the Ramayana, please come to my session tomorrow on Girl Who Chose.
Oh,
Yeah?
lovely. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Shubhra.
I can't see you. Where?
Over here,
Okay.
at the
No.
back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I just have a very quick question. You mentioned Greek mythology, and you said that there are characters in the Greek mythology that tell you to compete, to win, to
Yeah.
to succeed. And Indian stories actually, the gods. Like the stories are about, face your fear. If you have fears, you can pray to the gods, and So my question to you is, where are the stories, that are real stories in the mythology which tell you to face your fears?
That's a good question. Okay.
I think all stories in mythology tell you to face your fears. Greek stories tell you that you have to fight your fears. Indian stories tell you have to understand your fears. That's the difference.
Wait, hold on a second. There's one. 1, 2. That's fine.
Hello sir, can you
Aw.
throw some more light on your last chapter of book Jaya?
On
For
the.
that we need another session, my child, or you'll have to read the book, not today, yeah?
Okay.
Hello. So here.
The gentleman there,
There's
you
one
can just-
person who's been very patient, and then we're taking this one. Hold on. We'll take 2 together so we can answer them.
So you spoke about prophecy, that something will happen. And then it depends on us how we respond to the occurrence. I would refer to the Gita where Sri Krishna says, that's what I'm coming to, where Sri Krishna says, please correct me if I'm wrong, that nothing can happen, not even a leaf can move without my will. So in that case, isn't our response also his will?
Okay.
Okay, and there's one question here, and there's a child in the front. Can you get a mic to him? You can.
So in many
But
of your
hold on,
books
hold on.
like Sita and Jaya, you have used the illustrations more.
Yes.
Like in not the pictures, but the handwritten hand sketches and the illustrations. So any specific reason to use more in those books? Specifically in your books, I have observed that.
You see, illustrated books sell more.
Okay.
It's purely a commercial reason, nothing else.
Okay, and the question that he had asked, did you?
There's no question. He
there's
said,
comment.
I agree with him.
Okay, and. Yeah,
Hello, sir.
Here in front.
I've read 2 of your books, Fun in Devlok and Pashu. So I saw that Pashu is really mythological, whereas Fun in Devlok is sort of modernized. So why did you want to do so?
Because I wanted to have fun with Devlok.
See, as you can see, we're focusing on the kids. There's one more here because we're not like those older people that he was talking about. Go ahead.
आपने एक बुक लिखी थी द गर्ल हू चोज, वो रामायण की स्टोरी थी, पर आपने उसको कुछ अलग टाइटल दिया, उसकी फर्स्ट चॉइस, सेकंड चॉइस, थर्ड चॉइस, फोर्थ चॉइस, फिफ्थ चॉइस, आपने उसका मेन पार्ट टाइटल बना दिया. आप इतने अच्छे टाइटल्स कैसे सोचते हो?
That's so sweet. Planted question. That's a lovely question. Thoughts on titles, and we'll take maybe one last.
देखिए टाइटल, जब किसी को मम्मी खाना बनाती है ना, तो खाना आपको अच्छा नहीं लगता, तो वो अलग अलग तरीके से बनाती है, कभी अलग अलग शेप देती है ताकि तुम उसको खाओ जो भी ग्रीन वेजिटेबल्स होते हैं खाना नहीं चाहते हैं तो उसमें मिठाई कुछ डाल के, वैसे ही मैं हमेशा सोचता हूँ कि मेरा जो कहानी है वो एक प्रकार का खाना है, तो जो दुकान में जाएगा बोलेगा कि नहीं मुझे वो खाना है, तो ऐसे मैं टाइटल लिखता हूँ.
So I have a very quick question. So far, before Olympus, you've been writing about Indian mythology. So, what inspired you to write about Greek mythology now?
See, 10 years ago I wanted to write this book. My publisher says it won't sell. Now I've written it with the appeal that it will sell. So please buy.
How are we for time? Do we still have 5 minutes?
Are we done?
Oh, we have 10 minutes then.
Oh, we have
Yeah?
time.
So there's a girl there in the cap and specs.
But you all have to
finished
sit
early?
down who are
Right,
raising
right,
their
right.
hands.
I don't know why they wrapped. Anyway, there's one here. We'll take 2-3 questions.
We have time, so aram se.
Aram se. And infinite lives, remember. We'll be here again.
Thank you. So basically, there's a theory, we studied this in college, that literature is transferred. So because there was, in India especially, because there was so much transfer of thought, the stories get transferred, and a lot of stories, so like a lot of Shakespeare stories are actually from Greece and from Asia and all of that. So is it possible that even mythology is technically these stories which just got modified, like even the Duryodhan story or any other story, it's just the same story, but as it got transferred, people adapted it to suit their
You know,
areas.
this theory basically says that people can't think original ideas. So that's it's a theory which sort of dismissive of human beings. Say that humans can't come up with original ideas and original stories and original plot points. It also assumes that ideas are, when it says ideas are being transferred, where did it originate? And that is a political question. Because the West would say that it originated in the West, the East will say it originated in the East. So these kind of theories are while nice, but underlying these theories are a lot of, at one level as I said, it is dismissive of local native intelligence कि उनके पास original idea हो ही नहीं सकती है कि it has to come from somewhere else, that they cannot think original, or that all ideas come from one part of the world or from the other point of the world. So one has to be very careful of these theories, and they remain theories. It is impossible to prove them.
Okay.
सर मैं सुबह से सोच के बैठा था कि ये क्वेश्चन तो आपसे पूछूंगा.
जी.
तो आपको लगता है कि जो एंशिएंट टाइम्स में जो विमेन को राइट्स ज़्यादा मिलती थी और अब कम मिलती हैं, या फिर आजकल के लॉज का विमेन गलत फ़ायदा उठा रही हैं? बिकॉज अगर हम देखें स्वयंवर जैसी प्रथाएं जो पहले थी वो विमेन को एक्चुअली चॉइस देती हैं.
देखिए राइट्स का कॉन्सेप्ट 100 साल से भी कम है. इसके पहले ये कॉन्सेप्ट था ही नहीं. हर समाज में कभी उतर चढ़ाव होता रहता है. तो अगर आप महाभारत देखो तो महाभारत में जब गंगा की कहानी होती है तो गंगा कहती है कि अगर मुझे शादी के बाद पूरा फ्रीडम चाहिए, और शांतनु कहता है ठीक है ले लो. सत्यवती कहती है अगर मैं शादी करूंगी तो मेरा बेटा राजा बनेगा, वो कहता है ले लो. वो एक लेवल. उसके बाद जब आता है दूसरा पीढ़ी आता है तो भीष्म 3 औरतों को उठा ले आते हैं और बोलते हैं कि तुम्हें जबरदस्ती शादी कराएंगे. तो हमारे महान भीष्म पितामह 3 औरतों को उठा लेते हैं और बोलते हैं कि जबरदस्ती तुम्हारी शादी होगी मेरे छोटे भाई के साथ. सो सडनली आप देखते हो कि जो फ्रीडम था, उनकी माँ के पास जो फ्रीडम था और उनकी सौतेली माँ के पास जो फ्रीडम था, वो उन घर के बहुओं में नहीं होता है. जब पति मर जाते हैं तो बहुओं को कहा जाता है कि तुम्हें नियोग करना है किसी और के साथ, हम डिसाइड करेंगे. तो मतलब आप पतन देख रहे हो. उसके बाद एक आती है उनके घर में एक स्त्री जिसका नाम है गांधारी, जो अपनी आंखों पे पट्टी बांध रही है. तो एक और पतन बन रही है क्योंकि वो पतिव्रता बनने के लिए वो आंखें पे पट्टी बांध रही है. तो अब धीरे 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 करके एक प्रकार का समाज में आप देख रहे हो कि स्त्री का दर्जा धीरे 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 नीचे हो रहा है. लेकिन जो नीचे होता है वो ऊपर भी जा सकता है. तो आजकल अगर आपको एक गर्लफ्रेंड है वो बोले कि शादी करूंगी लेकिन उसके बाद भी मुझे पूरा फ्रीडम दोगे?
Hi sir, I'm a big fan of your work. So my question is that obviously there's a huge parallel between Greek and Rome. Like we have Zeus, we have Jupiter, you have Hera, you have Juno. So do you think that Indra is also sort of Zeus? It's just we are used to more sparkly thing. That's why we imagine him with a golden mukut. So do you think there's a parallel drawn like between Indra and Zeus or Jupiter?
No, there isn't. And if you want to know the details, please buy this book. And it has all the answers in it. Yeah?
We still have a few more minutes. Okay, there's one there and there's a child in front again.
So if you look at Christianity or Islam, the way it has been narrated over a period of time, it's treated as history.
Yes.
Whereas when it comes to Indian religions and Greek religion, it's treated as mythology. So one is, when do we change that mindset? And the second question is, when you write your books on Indian stories, do you treat them as historical characters or mythological characters?
Okay, so you are still following a very 19th century way of thinking. So that what you said just now is very 19th century. In the 19th century, polytheism was mythology. So whenever culture have many god, that is mythology, and when you have monotheism, it is not mythology. In the 21st century, we will say anybody who thinks of theism is mythology. So polytheism is also mythology, monotheism is also mythology. So 18th century में भी Indian mythology था यहाँ पे. So if you ask a secular person, he will say ये सब mythology है. अगर atheist को बोलोगे तो सब mythology है. अगर आप mythologist को बोलोगे तो वो बोलेगा atheism भी एक अलग प्रकार का mythology है. So there is polytheistic mythology, there is monotheistic mythology, there is atheistic mythology. Mythology can be, because it is the way humans imagine the world. भारतीय परंपरा में जो हिस्ट्री होता है वो पितरों के लिए होता है. जो पितर जो मर गए, भगवान की कहानी केवल पुराणों में होती है. तो आपको डिसाइड करना है भगवान को वैल्यू करना है या पितरों को वैल्यू करना है. आई प्रेफर भगवान, अदर्स फॉलो पितर.
My question is that Gandhari's decision was right or wrong that she put cloth on her eyes?
I don't know, we'll have to talk to her and ask. We would never know. Everybody has a right to take their decisions. In life, everybody takes a decision. You will take a decision of studies. Now you're a child, your mother will not let you take decisions. I want to take a decision, I want to watch TV all the time. Or I want to see internet all the time. Your mother will say, no, no, no. Once you become an adult, you have to take decisions. Now, is those decisions right or wrong? We'll only know in the future. Right? So, somebody will say, "Arey, ye bahar ka khana mat khao, acha nahi hai." You'll say, "No, it's my decision. I want to eat it." Next day, you'll get a stomach upset. Your decision. But you enjoyed the food at that time. That was also your decision. So, Gandhari takes a decision. You have to understand why she took the decision. Think about it. If you think right and wrong, there is no right decision in this world. Every decision has good points and bad points. So, the Ramayana is about girl who chose. Sita takes 5 decisions in the Ramayana. We will discuss those 5 decisions tomorrow, not today. So, that's an invitation for you all to come there.
Well done. Okay, there are a couple more. Yes, there's one.
Yes.
Sir, question sir. बचपन में जब कहानियाँ पढ़ते थे तो राक्षसों की शक्ल हमेशा काली होती थी और भगवान हमेशा गोरे या तो ये रेसिज्म किसी प्रकार का नहीं हमको बचपन में सिखाया गया.
देखिए जब हम प्रहलाद को देते, प्रहलाद भी असुर है. हिरण्यकश्यपु इज असुरा, उनके बेटे का नाम प्रहलाद है. तो हिरण्यकश्यपु को हम काला बनाते हैं और प्रहलाद को गोरे. तो हमारे मन में ये विचार है कि देखिए देयर आर 2 रीजंस. वन इज सिंपल रेसिज्म कि रंग भेद है ये, कि सफ़ेद रंग इज सुपीरियर और काले. और हमारे देश में तो रंग भेद है ही है. हम कृष्ण को भी काला नहीं देखेंगे, नीला देखेंगे. कृष्ण काला नहीं हो सकते, वो श्याम वर्ण का मतलब एक्चुअली नीले हैं. वी प्रिफर ब्लू टू ब्लैक. मेघ वर्ण, यू नो, घन श्याम. लेकिन नहीं, कृष्ण काले कभी नहीं हो सकते. टीवी में मैं काम करता हूँ, सो आई कीप सेइंग अरे इस एपिसोड में कृष्ण को थोड़ा काला लड़का, सर रेटिंग नीचे जाएगा, हमको गोरे कृष्ण चाहिए. तो गोरा कृष्ण की दुनिया आ गए हम. यह है कलयुग, कलयुग आ गया. लेकिन ये दूसरा आइडिया है कि ये दिखाना चाहते हैं, और भारतीय परंपरा में, कि जो अंधकार से हम डरते हैं. आप किसी को भी अंधकार में ले लो तो वो डर आता है, और जब दिया ही दिखा देता है तो आपको एक होप आता है. तो इसलिए आर्टिस्ट हमेशा काले रंग को, लेकिन भारतीय परंपरा में बोलते थे भगवान अंधकार में भी है, इसलिए वहां पे श्याम भी काले हैं, श्यामा भी काली है. तो काली का रूप भी काला होगा, कृष्ण का रूप भी काला होगा. तो काले और शिव जी का रूप गोरा होगा और गौरी का रूप गोरा होगा. तब गोरे काले दोनों को मिला के, ये भारतीय परंपरा है. अंधकार से डरते हो लेकिन वो भी माता है, और जो दीप से तुम्हें प्रभावित होता है वो भी माता है. दोनों माताएं हैं. तो तुम, ये है भारतीय परंपरा. पाश्चात्य परंपरा है आप दीप के तरफ जाओ. भारतीय परंपरा है इधर भी मत डरो उधर भी मत डरो, क्योंकि वो दीप एक दिन आपको जला सकता है.
So the last question here.
Okay, so my question is, you talked about how Western religions have kind of set our life course, but being situated in India, for us it goes side by side, and a lot of people do take religion seriously. And my question is about, what about systematic oppression? Be it of LGBT community or the castes or women per se. And you talked about Rishi Rid for a bit. So I would want to look more into it. Don't Rishis have a lot of Rid from all these people who they have been systematically oppressing for all this while? And when you talk about bringing the Eastern tradition into the modern world, is there a need to change the narrative?
Okay, and all of this in 1 minute.
In 1 minute, yeah. See, everybody oppresses. If somebody thinks that there is oppressor is a separate tribe and you are not an oppressor, then you're not looking carefully. I always tell people, let's look at a woman in an upper caste and a woman in a lower caste. From a woman's point of view, in both cases, she's in a patriarchal setup. It is not that because in a lower caste setup, she's not oppressed. Her biology is oppressing. LGBT community in the upper caste is also oppressed, in the lower caste also is oppressed. So we have to be careful when we use words like oppression. Because from this point of view, what looks like oppression, in the other, you become the oppressor. So I may be fighting for LGBT rights, but I'll be denying women rights in my family. Or I will be not giving my sister an equal share in the property. So that can happen. So you can be a person who is really fiercely fighting LGBT rights, but don't believe your sister should get equal rights. Or you could be a man fighting caste issues and saying all the Brahmins are evil, but at home, you will treat your wife very badly. So oppression is a very complex idea. Every human being is an oppressor. Rishi ho ya raja ho, asur ho ya dev ho, सबको ऋण चुकाना पड़ता है. देवता को भी ऋण चुकाना पड़ता है, भगवान को भी ऋण चुकाना पड़ता है. इसलिए अवतरण लेके आना पड़ता है और यहाँ पे पत्नी का त्याग करना पड़ता है.
Thank you, Devdutt. On that note, we have to wrap up. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Please, वो कल